Archaic Records.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Archaic Records here with you again. My name is Jamie, coming at you from Nashville, Tennessee. And for today's episode, you might want to go grab your protractor, your pocket protector, and your horn rim glasses, because today we're going to be discussing a little bit the 1986 self-titled debut album by New York nerd rock icons, They Might Be Giants. They Might Be Giants was formed in 1982 by friends John Flansburgh and John Linnell in Brooklyn, New York. My personal relationship with this band goes back to probably the early 1990s, 1993, 1994. Apart from hearing a song now and then, perhaps on the radio or MTV, I think I first really discovered They Might Be Giants for myself through my love of the Dead Milkmen at the time. Now I realize that the Dead Milkmen and They Might Be Giants are not the same band at all. They are two very different entities. But for me, when I first discovered the Dead Milkmen, when I was in high school, I first began listening to them. I was so intrigued by them, and I was such a big fan almost immediately that I really wanted to go out and explore other bands that kind of reminded me in some way of the Dead Milkmen, which They Might Be Giants at the time did. I don't know that I would say that more now as I know their catalog much better than I did back then. I don't know that I would say that now, but at the time, when I first discovered them, I liked them because they reminded me, or at least a little bit I had heard, they reminded me of the Dead Milkmen. I believe the first time I really heard They Might Be Giants for myself, when I was actually paying attention, was I think I saw the video for the song Anna Ang on MTV's 120 Minutes one Sunday night. Not long after that, I ran out to one of my local record stores and I picked up their record Lincoln, looking for that song. I was really just compelled by that record. There was something about it that really connected to me. I think I've told you this, or I did tell you this on the last video I did, talking about the band Mr. T Experience. When I was a younger person in middle school, high school, and young adulthood, I was a total nerd. And I was just really drawn to bands like that. There was something about them I could just relate to. In the case of They Might Be Giants specifically, I just really loved their subject matter. I really loved the fact that nobody wrote songs like they did. Nobody sounded like they did. I loved their sense of humor. Again, this is another band that I think that They Might Be Giants sometimes get miscategorized, in my opinion, as being a funny band. Now, I'm not somebody, I've said this before, I'm not somebody who goes out and is really a big fan of what you would call like funny music. However, I do love bands that have a good, smart, snarky, snotty, and in the case of They Might Be Giants, sophisticated sense of humor. I remember after sort of living with their album Lincoln for a few weeks, kind of immersing myself in it, I went out and I found this record on CD, which of course is their debut album. I really loved this album as well, but it wasn't really until I went to see the band live where I would say that my fandom was completely solidified. I went with a group of friends to see They Might Be Giants. The first time I saw them, now this is a band I've seen probably 4 or 5 times over the years. I haven't seen them quite a while now, actually. And as much as I used to love them, and I still do love them, I don't listen to them nearly as much as I used to, but I did go see them the first time, I believe it was in 1994, 1995 at the Fillmore in San Francisco. Which I'm probably biased being a Bay Area guy, being a San Francisco person, but the Fillmore to me is the greatest music venue of all time. I think I've talked about that on this channel. I just love the room itself. I love the history. I love The way it sounds, it's like the perfect size. And I remember I was really excited to go see They Might Be Giants the first time I did see them. I was very curious as to how they would translate live. Now, another thing I've always loved and respected and appreciated about this band is with the almost seemingly effortless ability to sort of bounce in between different styles, different genres. They're kind of the masters of everything musically. And I was really curious to see how this would translate live, how they would be able to pull it off, how it would come across live. And I have to say I was very impressed the first time I saw them live. I've been very impressed with them every time I've seen them live, that they reproduce very well. All of their songs sound great live. They have such a great energy when they play live. You can tell every time I've seen them, these guys never phone in a second. It seems like they always have a good time. They're always well engaged. And you can tell that this band has a very strong kinship with their fan base. Now, I've always said the same thing about Morrissey. But you can tell with the They Might Be Giants band and fan base that the love affair is mutual. That being said, I have to give a ton of respect and love for and to the They Might Be Giants fan base. They are as dedicated, committed, and loyal as any fan base out there. I've said the same thing about Morrissey and Smiths fans. Now, they may not have the raw numbers that some of the more notorious big fan bases have, but I would put up the loyalty and dedication of They Might Be Giants fans up against any other fan base. I mean, those people absolutely are in love with that band. When you go see They Might Be Giants live, their fans sing along to every word. They know all of the gimmicks. They know all of the shticks. And through all of this band's catalog and all of the different stylistic changes and consistency and sometimes inconsistency, in my opinion, of the band's records, the fans have just completely stayed on board, stayed true. And I have a tremendous amount of respect and love for that as somebody who I've said before is relatively obsessive over his favorite musical artist. I have a lot of respect for that. One thing that I've always found it difficult to do when it comes to They Might Be Giants is pigeonhole them into one sort of genre. They don't really fit into most of the conventional sort of genre titles. Back in the day, back in the 1980s and early 90s, very early 90s, before the term alternative just kind of got thrown all over everything like a blanket, there was a term that we used to use back in those days. Now, I'm dating myself, sorry, but there was a term that we used to use back then to describe bands kind of like this. I think of them, of course, I think of the Dead Milkmen, Husker Du, The Replacements, a lot of bands. Now, I'm not saying that those bands have much in common, if anything, really, between them. But there was a genre that we used to call college rock, again, before it became, just alternative. So I always think of these guys still to this day, even though that's sort of an outdated description or genre title. I always think of these guys as being college rock. Another thing I've always really loved and appreciated about They Might Be Giants is, in my opinion, for what it's worth, they've got to be one of the smartest, if not the smartest band out there. It's hard to imagine other bands, a band like Motley Crue, for example, writing a song like Particle Man. Of course, it can be hard to imagine Motley Crue tying their shoes at times, to be honest with you. Imagine John Linnell by himself You can just leave Flansburgh on the bench for this one. I would imagine that John Linnell by himself has a higher IQ than all of Motley Crue, their road crew, their sound guy, their lighting engineer, and their entire fan base combined. I mean, can you imagine Motley Crue sit writing or singing a song called Particle Man? I doubt they would even know what that means. In fairness, though, you can't really imagine John Linnell going out there and indiscriminately pulling out his wiener in front of a stadium full of people like Tommy Lee does. But in fairness to Tommy Lee, you've got to give him the benefit of the doubt in the sense that I know for me, if I were packing as much heat as Tommy Lee is, I would probably find every opportunity to show it off as well. I mean, I could see myself getting ready to go out to a show with a friend, my friend going, "Come on, man, Jamie, are you ready or what?" And me going, "Just give me a second. I don't know, do you think that these sneakers match my penis?" And have my friend go, "Whoa, dude, come on, man, put that thing away. You gotta buy an extra ticket for that thing or what?" Anyway, this record was released on November 4th, 1986. It was produced by Bill Krause. One of the first things you notice about this record, of course, is the amazing artwork. I absolutely love the artwork on this record. This is another band that just consistently has incredible artwork. Pretty much their entire catalog now. I've said, and I love their early stuff. I really love this record a lot. I love Lincoln. I have Lincoln on vinyl also. I will come back to They Might Be Giants in the near future and talk about Lincoln. I know you're excited. But I will say that this is a band through their catalog, which is just massive. I mean, this band has just an immense catalog full of a lot of really good music. To me, it's a little bit inconsistent sometimes. They have a lot of stuff that's really great. They do have, to me, they have a fair amount of clunkage. But that's just me. But I will say that their artwork, pretty much their entire catalog, I find it to be very good, very compelling. This is one of my favorite album covers ever. It was the artwork was done by, if I can find it right here, Rodney Allen Greenblatt. I love this record cover. Man, I would actually live in this little town right here. This looks like quite a lovely, peaceful place to live. You can always ride the giant blue dog. You can go to Foodtropolis, hot dog colony. I like that. Of course, being me and sort of my interests, my proclivities, I have to have a good record store if there's going to be a town I live in, and they have Drive-Thru Records right there. That's probably where I would be hanging out. A very friendly looking place. The Giant Hotel has a smile on his face, welcoming tourists, welcoming visitors. Right next to the record store is the movie theater. Lots of good options. On the marquee on this day, there's Rambo, Aliens, E.T., Friday the 13th, Top Gun, Commando, I love that movie, Psycho 3, and Back to School. I mean, who said that movies weren't better back in those days? But I really love this artwork. I love all of their artwork. To me, this is a record that I still come back to again and again. Now, this isn't a band, as I mentioned, this isn't a band that I listen to quite as much as I used to, but I do still really, really love, especially their early catalog. Now, there's stuff all through the entire catalog I do like, but this is one of my favorites. If I had to choose, this might, I hate to say this is my favorite, because they do have a lot of really good records. But this is one of my favorites. I'll just say that. This is one of my favorites. Anyway, side one starts off with the song Everything Right Is Wrong Again. That is a They Might Be Giants classic. I absolutely love that song. I think pretty much anybody who is a fan of this band probably likes that song. Maybe, if you're a diehard fan, maybe one of the ones that you could say gets a little bit overplayed. But I really like that song. The second song on side one is Put Your Hand Inside the Puppet Head. I love that song. That is a classic. I love the video for that song also. That is another thing I have to mention about They Might Be Giants. Quickly, it'll probably come up more on this record and when I come back and talk about some of the other ones in the future. But man, this band were video legends back in the day. I love their old music videos. Really, all the way through their catalog. They have always been incredibly gifted at making fun, sometimes funny, but always interesting and always intriguing music videos. And I love the video for Put Your Hand Inside the Puppet Head. The third song on this album, appropriately titled, is number 3. That is a great song also. I love the really deep, heavy baritone saxophone. I love the lyrics. That song is just a lot of fun. The next song, probably the biggest hit off of this record, at least, if not one of the biggest hits in their catalog. One of the first songs I remember hearing, probably either on MTV or maybe on sort of a college radio station back when I was younger. Of course, the song Don't Let's Start. Sorry to say this if you were a hardened, jaded, cynical They Might Be Giants fan, but I love that song. The next song is Hideaway Folk Family. I really love this song. Kind of a countrified folk melody. Again, like I said, this is a perfect example. These guys just mastering a whole bunch of different styles, a whole bunch of different genres. It's very convincing as being sort of old-timey country western. I really love the song Hideaway Folk Family. To me, it's one of the highlights on this record. I really like that song. The next song is 32 Footsteps. Again, another song I really like a lot. One of my favorite parts, or one of my favorite things in 32 Footsteps is I love during the sort of weird chorus, the bing bang ding dum bing dang ding dum bing dang bing dum bang, whatever he says. I love how the vocals sound almost like the old animatronic Chuck E. Cheese from the 80s. If you went as a kid, if you were a kid in the 80s and you went to Chuck E. Cheese, I know right now it's really trendy because the Five Nights at Freddy's movie is out right now. But it always makes me think, that song always makes me think of going to Chuck E. Cheese as a kid in the 80s. I mean, if you didn't grow up in the 80s, you probably don't realize how big Chuck E. Cheese was. If you had a friend that was having a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese, you weren't missing that for anything. And if you were lucky enough to be the kid having a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese, I mean, the rest of your year at school was made because you were suddenly one of the coolest kids in town, at least in the town I grew up in. After that, there's a song called Toddler Highway. I have to say that this is probably the weakest song on the album for me. I really don't like it. Really, there's only like one reason why I kind of don't like this song. That reason being that it's not good. Fortunately, the song is only, I don't even think it's 30 seconds long. So we'll get a pass, at least for that, but it's a long 30 seconds. I mean, that's like having somebody put your onions in a vice for 30 seconds. Am I being clear? I don't particularly like the song Toddler Highway. The next song is Rabid Child. I really like this song a lot. I love the sort of like cartoony haunted house kind of vibe. Again, another musical style change that's completely convincing. I really love the song Rabid Child. Side 1 ends with another great song off this album, and that is Nothing's Gonna Change My Clothes. I absolutely love that song. I mean, that is the goods, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best songs on this album. Flip it over to side 2, and side 2 starts with the song She Was a Hotel Detective. Not my favorite song on this album. In fact, I would have to make the argument that this song's a little bit annoying. It's not my favorite. Now it's much better than Toddler Highway. Thinking Toddler Highway, man. She Was a Hotel Detective. Just kind of annoying. It's not my thing. Again, I will say, though, I do respect the fact that it sounds totally different. I mean, every song on this record is completely unique from anything else. I'll give it that. It's not my favorite, but I will say that. She's an Angel. Man, I love that song. That is a really good song. Much better than She Was a Hotel Detective. I love the lyrics to She's an Angel. It's very cute and funny and awesome. The next song is Youth Culture Killed My Dog. This song, the music part of this song, it always reminds me in a way of like Echo and the Bunnymen. It's got like a real sort of dark wave kind of like vibe to the music. It always reminds me of Echo and the Bunnymen. I mean that as a compliment. By the way, Echo and the Bunnymen are one of my all-time favorite bands. I really like that song. The next song is Boat of Car. This song features Margaret Seiler. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name right. I'm not doing that intentionally. I'm not sure how you pronounce that name. She is the lead vocalist on the song Boat of Car. It's okay. It's just kind of a song that sits there. It doesn't do a lot for me. It is unique. Like I said, like every other song on the record, it is different. The next song is Absolutely Bill's Mood. I like that song a lot too. The next song is Chess Piece Face. I really love that song. Now, this is the song I meant to talk about when I was talking about the cartoony haunted house. I love this song. This is a fun, weird. This has always been one of my favorite songs off this record. For some reason, I just really love Chess Piece Face. It's just weird goodness. Again, these guys sometimes are probably a little bit too smart for the average music fan, which is why I think that They Might Be Giants fans get it, and some of us don't, but I do love Chess Piece Face. The next song is I Hope That I Get Old Before I Die. Classic. I love this song. This is another one of my favorite songs off the record. Again, completely unique. I love the instrumentation. I love the lyrics. The next song is Alienations for the Rich. This one is another country fried dumpling. Very countrified. I really like this song a lot. It has one of my favorite lyrics on the record. I had to write it down just so I remembered. But it says, working to make it better with a 6 of Miller High Life. I think that's one of the best lyrics on the whole album. I love the song Alienations for the Rich. Actually, living here in Nashville, the home of country music, sort of, as it were, I think that song Alienations for the Rich is as good a country song as anything you'll hear down here on Broadway. The next song is The Day. I don't get it. I really don't get this song. Phil Oakes and Marvin Gaye get married. This is probably a song I just don't get. Maybe this one is just a little bit over my dunderhead. It's probably good. It's probably smarter than I am. To me, honestly, it's kind of irritating. I don't really get it. But I'm sure it has merit. It sounds unique, at least. And it is better than Toddler Highway. And the album ends with a song that I really love. One of my favorite songs on this record, which is Rhythm Section Wanad. That is one of my favorite songs off this record. Upbeat, fun, good tempo, well written, well played, very unique. But like I said, I really love this record a lot. This was a record that at one time meant a tremendous amount to me, meant a great deal to me. Very sentimental record for me. Whenever I hear this record or Lincoln or really anything by They Might Be Giants, it sort of transforms me back to a younger time in my life, and I really still love these guys. They just played down here in Nashville not long ago. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to go. I did talk to a couple people who went to the show who said it was amazing. I don't doubt it. I've seen these guys, like I said, 4 or 5 times. They are always the goods live, and they are still making good records. I think their newest record came out in 2021. I don't own it on any sort of physical format, but I have listened to it via streaming services. It is good, but it doesn't, to me, a lot of their newer stuff doesn't really hold up as well as some of their early records. But man, I really love this record. Before I get out of here this week, or today, I should say, on November 1st, my wife and I went down to the Opry Mills down here in Nashville for the re-release of the Terrifier 2 movie in theaters. Now, my wife and I saw Terrifier 2 originally when it did come out in the theaters. I'm a huge Terrifier fan. I don't care. You can say I'm a big trendy douche. I really don't care what you think. But it was good to see it in the theater again. We really didn't do too much for Halloween this year, so it was kind of how we celebrated our Halloween. If you've seen the movie, you know of the character, the Clown Cafe Girl. My wife was going to dress up as the Clown Cafe Girl. She sort of got cold feet at the last second because there was a bunch of stuff we were going to be doing during the day before we went to go see the movie. The movie wasn't until like 7 o'clock or something like that, so she kind of like got cold feet at the last second. But she did get the costume ready, and she promises me that she will dress up for the horror convention that they have out here in Nashville every year on Easter. Now, one of the reasons why we went to go see the re-release of Terrifier 2, apart from the fact that I'm just a big fan of the franchise, is they promised that they would show what I thought was going to be the trailer for Terrifier 3. It turned out to be just a little bit of a teaser after they showed the feature film. When I say teaser, I'm not kidding. It was about, I would say, less than 90 seconds long. But it did pique my interest. I am a huge fan of the franchise. I just am. I've always been a huge horror movie fan, and I just sort of like the slasher thing is really my genre. But one thing I'd like to show you that they did give out, and I was surprised, I have to say. Actually, I was surprised how few people were there. My wife and I got tickets the day that this thing was announced, and I was surprised there was very few people there. Honestly, I was a little surprised. We went to go see, a couple weeks ago, we went to go see the re-release of House of a Thousand Corpses, which is a much older movie and probably has a lot more, cult status. But that place was packed when they did that, so I was a little surprised. So few people came to the Terrifier 2 re-release, especially considering that they had what I thought was going to be the trailer for Terrifier 3. Like I said, it was about a 90-second little clip. Looks very Christmas themed. During the clip, a young girl, a young child that gets out of bed, goes downstairs to find Santa Claus, placing presents around the Christmas tree. And if you know the Terrifier franchise, you can imagine who Santa Claus turns out to be. But one thing that made it worth it going to see, that's basically the whole clip. This little girl goes downstairs, sees Santa Claus turns around, and it's, Art the Clown. But one cool thing we got, I don't know how well you can see this, is the poster. Actually, I'm heading out right now to go find a frame for it. I know you're intrigued by that. But anyway, I'm very excited about the prospect of going to see Terrifier 3. Now, they didn't give us any sort of release date. It seems Christmas themed, and Christmas isn't too far away, so I'm hoping that it'll be out maybe this year. I don't want to wait until next Christmas. I may not even be here by then. But anyway, very excited to see Terrifier 3. And if you didn't go, if you are a fan of the Terrifier franchise and you didn't get a chance to go to the re-release on November 1st for whatever reason, you weren't alone, because there weren't very many people there. And really, at the end of the day, with the little trailer teaser, you didn't miss a ton. Now, I've read that the opening scene of Terrifier 3 is supposedly so gory that they are actually having to rethink whether it can be released in the current state. But I love Terrifier. That was a lot of fun. My wife and I didn't really do much else for Halloween, so that was a good way to celebrate it. Anyway, man, thank you so much for checking out this video. This is Archaic Records. My name is Jamie, coming at you from Nashville, Tennessee. Be sure to go out and support your local record store. Listen to They Might Be Giants. They Might Not Be Giants. Yeah. Get it? Go out and support your local record store. Check back every week on this channel for Morrissey Monday, my weekly celebration of all things Morrissey and the Smiths. Check back for more record content in between those days. And until next time, my friends, I will talk to you then.